Hello and welcome to Crazy Hank TV. The Lost Rewatch continues. I'm joined by Andrea Gabriel and Joe, the sand kicker, opinionated.
It's a long story. We'll get into it.
But anyway, I'm really happy you guys chose to be on here today. I'm really excited for this. It should be a fun one. And basically, we all started out with how you guys got into Lost. So I don't know which one wants to go first.
Well, I was cast on it.
All right, you win. You get to go first.
So yeah, I got the role of Nadia on Lost, and it kind of all happened from there. And I started watching it. I mean, I knew that it was on the air and that it was getting a lot of buzz, but I hadn't actually watched it until I cast it. And on the actual audition that I went on, I was very confused. Extremely confused, because there's the Republican Guard, there's a French chick, and there's an island. So I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, all I have to focus on is Republican Guard. That was a smart move because that's all I had to do. So after that point, once I knew I had the show, once I knew I booked the show, I probably had about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to catch up from the pilot. And that's when it blew my mind. And I was like, and actually, as everybody knows who has ever heard me give an interview before, Walkabout was the one that I was like, oh, dang. Like, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. So that's when I kind of fell in love with everyone, including Terry Oakland. But after that point, yeah, I was a fan as well as being a participant.
I have two questions for you. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to know, did they instruct you on your accent when you first auditioned?
No, they said it was Iraqi. And so that was my business. I had to figure out, the best way to learn that, how to do that. But there was no coach. It was like, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping way, way ahead here. And, I will reveal no spoilers, but later in the series, I had to speak some Arabic. And by that point, they actually hired someone to tell me what to do, which was amazing because I had been on it for 5 years already. But, before that, it was just sort of like, you do you.
And Jack, I was just going to ask Andrea, the picture that Naveen Andrews has in the pilot or closely thereafter, you're in it, but you had just been cast for future episodes. So they go into post and add you to that photo?
Yes. So pretty much, I guess maybe it wasn't even like 24 hours after I got the part. They had me go out to Burbank and just snap a couple pictures. And then like, lo and behold, a week later, I'm in Walkabout. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, was that Walkabout? It was Walkabout, right?
I believe so, yeah. When I think Claire finds the photo. Yeah.
I love that you guys know this. That's amazing.
Well, I just watched it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, it was they just kind of like superimposed me on whoever Naveen was looking at that moment. I'm so curious who that was. It was probably just some girl like.
That's good. I'd love to find that prop. I'd like the original photo.
Oh my God. How cool would that be?
I know. I'll look into it.
That's got to be worth a bit of money at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the original Penny wasn't Penny. It was a different Penny.
Who was that Penny?
Yeah.
And they didn't even go back and change that. Like, they're just like, yeah, we're good.
But now it's funny because, we know you so much as Nadia. We know Sonia Walger as Penny. And to think about anyone else in any of these roles, it would completely change the chemistry of the show.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But you have no idea how close all of it came to that. I mean,
I'm sure.
I'm sure with Sonia and with me, it's just like, I don't even know, which is the glory and the beauty of Hollywood.
True.
Well, I was going to ask, do you know how many people tried out for Nadia? I mean, were there a lot of,
Here's the thing. I know that, I know somebody dropped out or somebody couldn't do it or somebody was cast. I don't know who that person is. To this day, I'm like, who is Madam X? Like, who's that person? I have my theories. I could be wrong, but just my intuitive psychic abilities like point me towards certain people. I'll share that with you at a later date. But in the meantime, maybe I'll give it to you at the end of the episode. Who knows? But in the meantime, I feel like someone dropped out, which is why all of a sudden it was like, we got to recast like immediately. And I feel like there were a lot of Nadias in the room and there were a lot of Danielles in the room all at the same time. And so they were like, you know, auditioning Danielle, then Nadia, then Danielle, and then and everyone was so confused because it's like, what are we doing? Like, what episode is this where I'm a French chick in like a hut and there's somebody in Iraq? I mean, it was confusing. So
I love that you didn't even do a chemistry test with Naveen. You went to Hawaii. You met him there.
I met him there. Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to say April Webster, the casting director, who's brilliant.
Oh yeah. Amazing woman. So she came out and was trying to be as like accommodating as possible and be like, so here's the thing. They're telling this story to this chick and this is what the story is. So she was trying, and she had to come out like every 15 minutes and say this because there'd be a new like horde of Danielles and Nadias coming in the room.
That's crazy.
So yeah, but you know, I knew Naveen mostly from Kama Sutra.
Not the English patient?
No.
Okay.
The movie Kama Sutra. I went to Kama Sutra with my boyfriend like when it came out and it was awkward even then. And it was just like, I mean, I honestly, I love the movie. It is like almost, it's a cult favorite of mine. I mean, you know, all the action here.
Did you let him know that you enjoyed the movie?
Yes. He and I actually spent most of the episode like laughing about it and just like, you know, reciting lines from it. Like it was actually like a bonding experience for the both of us. So what's so funny is that like, you know, he's so the heavy in Kama Sutra that me and my boyfriend were just like, oh my God, that guy. Oh my God, that guy. And so I'm like, oh, that guy. And so I had to flip the script and be like, no, that's the romantic hero. He's the good guy. He's amazing. He's like got a beard now. Everything's different.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was my kind of like, you know, inundation to Naveen. And honestly, what I will usually do if a director has directed something before that I know about, I'll like go in and I'll try and like sort of like just tune in with the director. Or if I'm working with somebody who I've seen in something before, I'll actually, this is going to sound really weird and creepy and stalkerish, but I'll like look into their eyes like on screen and be like, okay, so that's what it's going to be like. So this is what I'm getting on the page of right now.
It's homework.
So I might have done that with Naveen. He didn't do it with me, but I did it with him.
It's stalking for homework, which is totally acceptable.
Totally.
I think it's legal.
It's stalking. What?
I think it's legal.
Yeah.
It's stalking for money.
Perfect.
When you got the part, did they say it's going to be a one-time deal, or did they say it's going to be a recurring role? How did they handle that?
They said a one-time deal because they didn't even know if they had a season 2. They had no idea. So it was a guest star, and you know, once things tended towards continuing, I was like, I wonder if this is going to go further.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you are the only person to have appeared in flashbacks in all 6 seasons. No other flashback character did.
Well, thank you. Actually, Hurley's mother.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected, but those are 2. That's a good fact to have.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there was a third, but I know it's me and Lillian, and there might be a third, but it's like there are not many. But thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I have a lot of weird facts up here.
Oh,
well, that
as do I. I'm the Kama Sutra stalker.
She is. Yeah.
I always think I know this might sound it's a credit to your acting, but when I first met you, I think it was at the Lost Finale party at the Orpheum. You were so bubbly and Nadia had always seemed like, you know, this is Nadia. Hey, Saeed, you know, she's had a rough life.
Yeah, things have been hard.
It's just a completely different personality than Nadia. So I was, you know, as a fan, you kind of think that that actor is going to have that. It's like Eric Lang. When I met him, I think, okay, this guy's just going to be a real jerk, and he wasn't. He was really not. He's really nice. So you kind of go, wow, geez, it kind of throws me off when I would meet people that are on
acting. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, Nadia wasn't exactly fun, but like by design.
Well, you know what? Y'all don't know.
I know.
I mean, Saeed married her for a reason.
Fair.
So, you know, he had the whole Shannon Island thing, and then he married her ass. He could have had anybody, but you know.
Points
Just
for
saying. You don't know what Nadia's got up her sleeve.
We'll get to the end and the church later because I want to talk about that on record with you guys. Yeah. And I didn't answer Jack's question, which is how I got into Lost, which really I honestly don't remember except that I watched it and loved it. And then I started a blog. I started writing about it on MySpace because we're aging ourselves here. And that's where I met most of you guys through MySpace and then the early inception of Facebook. But I had a blog that sort of became well read, which was fantastic. And some of the ABC people reached out to me because I was spoiler free and I only allowed kind comments, or at least constructive ones. There are plenty of message boards where people could go be what they are now on Twitter, and they were. I avoided those like the plague, and I just stuck with like deep theorizing. And then I became friends with people like Andrea, who I met at a charity event 10 years ago, Lost Weekend in Los Angeles. And we became buddies and had some martinis and hung out and just bonded about the show and life. And then I just have become this, I have a lot of encyclopedia knowledge about Lost because I've watched it so many times. And because now I run Cancer Gets Lost, which people who are watching may or may not know. Cancer Gets Lost is a nonprofit. Jared Wong, who's a fellow fan friend of mine, we co-founded it in 2010. She's waving to you, Jared, even though you're not here. That's fine. It's a video.
Maybe he's in the cat house.
Maybe he's in the cat house. He would fit in the cat house, actually. He's tiny. So yeah, long story short, when we attended the official Lost auction with you in 2010, we had this sort of brainstorm together. I had a friend at the time with brain cancer, and I was just a small collector, and Jay's like, you have a good social media following, and we could do something together and raise money for people. And we were kind of upset that ABC didn't donate any of their millions of dollars in proceeds to charity. And if they did, great, but they didn't advertise it. So that's where Cancer Gets Lost was born. Cut to 2012, we had our first auction of mostly lost and bad robot items and raised $65,000, and it sort of exploded from there. So as of this week, we've raised over $300,000 and donated all of it to charity.
Wow.
So it's all, we pick a different cancer.
Amazing.
Thank you. We pick a different cancer charity with every auction so that we can spread the love out because there are a lot of different kinds of cancer out there that don't get the same attention and support. So we do a lot of childhood cancer charities. Next year, we're doing Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which is a larger organization, but my dad has lymphoma, but he's cancer-free as of right now, knock on wood. So there's always a reason and a personal reason, and I know somebody who knows somebody. So long story short, it's an excellent endeavor that Jay and I do in our spare time. And we don't keep a cent, and we just want to take Lost's legacy and do something with it, which I think we've been able to do.
Amazing.
Yeah,
so amazing.
You guys do.
Thank you. And we make amazing friends along the way. I've known you each for, over 10 years now, which is incredible.
I've got to say.
It's been longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have never met a stronger, more just empathetic, intelligent, amazing fan base than with this show. It's crazy. Definitely. It's insane. It's like everyone is just like, I could be a friend of everybody who is a fan of this show and who has been committed to this show.
What I love about Lost, and we talked about this at Comic-Con, Jack, is that this is pre-Twitter and it's a really pre-big social media era. It was magic in a bottle. There is a kindness and a generosity that it was born of this fandom that has continued on. And I feel like because I interact with a lot of new fans of Lost who have found Cancer Gets Lost, that the same feeling, there's not a lot of infighting. There's not shipping wars. There's not people online yelling at each other because it required such deep thinking. And I think that's where people have really bonded about this show. But to a person, the cast and crew of Lost are also such decent, lovely human beings that everybody knows that the stories they tell because they meet them at various conventions or events, or even the way they interact online. It started from the top with Damon and Carlton. And even though Damon left Twitter, the legacy of kindness for this fandom started at the top and it continues.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a great fan. It's a great, you can't, I've said it, I think on every one of these I've done, you can't beat this fan base.
Yeah.
You can't, because I remember I think it was 2010 at Comic-Con, I got in line at 2 a.m. for the Lost panel. We were with the Heroes people. We didn't like them, but 2 o'clock in the morning and everybody is just laughing and having a good time. And, no one's getting any sleep. It was just so much fun to be around. I think that's why I keep coming back to it. because it's just such a great thing to be part of. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. And also everybody is, I mean, there is such a tendency towards the metaphysical and good and evil and the nature of reality and God, like in this show, that people who have those thoughts and questions themselves are drawn to this show. And it creates a depth that other just mediums don't have. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's like the show holds up a mirror if you let it, because people who are brought to the island, they have a second chance, and this show maybe gives people that opportunity to question their second chance in life. I think that there is a depth to it that a lot of shows have tried and failed, and a few have succeeded, but it's not the same.
Not like,
and it is special and unique.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to talk about an episode or something?
Well, before we did that, I wanted to mention one year at Comic-Con, you both were sitting at a table, some restaurant, and I photobombed you guys.
That's right.
Amazing.
I don't remember. I jumped in and got in the photo, and I thought it was funny.
So. Is that how we met? Is that how you and I met, Jack?
No, we met at the Orpheum.
But I mean, that was party. Before, right? I mean,
that was 2009, I think. When you were Comic-Con.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I guess that's how we met. No, okay, that's how we met.
It was lovely to bomb you.
I've been doing that since I was like a kid. I used to get in trouble a lot as a kid doing that. So,
amazing.
Anyway, but I had to throw that out there because you're both here, and I remember photobombing you, and it was a highlight of my day.
I remember that. So that was our first like random meeting, and then our first date was the Orpheum.
It was like an episode of Lost.
Exactly.
There you go. All right, so you guys ready to get into this first episode?
Yeah.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on it?
Are we doing which one? Solitary or solitary? Oh yeah, solitary.
It comes first before Raised by
Another. But which I rewatched, by the way. I'm such a good student. I can't. You can't get the nerd out of the brown noser.
Thank God. Good.
So, God, what do you want to know about Solitary? That one I don't have to rewatch. I pretty much know it by heart.
Where did they film Iraq? Like, what kind of part of the island did they film for your first scenes?
So there were these barracks on Oahu, and they were just, I mean, people could go and visit them, these barracks. And they're like just surrounded by this like lush tropical foliage. And I was just like, okay, I don't know. Because this was, I didn't know from CGI. I knew nothing. So I'm just, we're filming in the barracks. But, as like from the exteriors, they fixed that whole thing, made it a desert. It was crazy the way that it passed. I was like, how did you guys know this? So, okay, where do I begin? Where do I begin? Oh yeah. So as fast as the casting of the thing was and the picture taking of the thing was, the flying out there was just as strange because I was supposed to go out there, I think the next day. And then like the day I had a lot of things to take care of before I left. They're like, how'd you feel about coming out today? What you gonna say? So I'm like, sure. And then I run around, I'm like, canceling this. I'm like, who's going to watch the cat? Another cat at that time. And just like, just freaking out. And then basically like sitting there on my luggage, like, when am I leaving? What's going on? And so I actually ended up taking like a midnight flight out to Hawaii. Last minute, they didn't tell me. Because what was happening was the day that we were going to be shooting, it was an air show, with airplanes. And so it was going to affect sound. So they had to change everything last minute. And so that's why they were flipping everything around. So I was actually, I think I had like a couple days leverage in the first place. But then it was like, you're leaving today, you're going to shoot on Friday, stay the weekend, then, shoot Monday, then leave Tuesday. But it was going to be like Monday through the next week kind of thing. So I was already just like on edge. I get to the airport and I'm just like, okay, Bloody Mary. I'm like, it'll help me sleep. And then when I'm like on the plane, they have like, it was so fast. They had no vegetarian meal. So it was kind of like eating the gravy around some pork or so. It was just like, and so when I land, I am feeling so sick and just like so ill. I can't sleep at all. I'm just like, how is this ever going to happen? The next day, I am literally like, please don't let me vomit. Please don't let me vomit. I just don't want to throw up in front of anybody involved with this entire production. Please. And I had a backpack on. I'm like trying to get into the trailer. Literally, I'm like almost like falling back like a turtle. So finally, I get into the trailer. One of the costume guys is like, "Would you like an English muffin?" I'm like, "Yes." After the English muffin, everything changed.
You just needed a little bit of carb.
I felt so much better. And I was still a little bit queasy, and I knew I was going to be wearing like a black tarp that day in the Hawaiian sun. But like by the time it turned like noon, I was tap dancing. I was so happy. I was like, this is amazing. Everything is awesome. So, but I did have that moment where it's like, please don't let me pass out, throw up, or F up in front of anyone, please. So it was close. I was like, this could be either really cool or really bad.
So you filmed all of your scenes with Naveen in solitary. Did you meet any of the other actors at that point?
No.
Because you were literally in solitary.
I was in solitary. Yes. And then they sent me home after that. Yeah. Because, I mean, basically, you know, I mean, I think they were just happy everything came off, that, you know, they were able to avoid the air show. And I was happy I got to have an extra weekend in Hawaii, which, you know, fed my soul. And all of the, like, the really, like, the one-on-one scenes with Naveen, they happened the next week after I had sleep. I was not hungover or had food poisoning. So everything was much better. And the scenes where I was hungover and had food poisoning, I was in prison. So it was amazing.
It worked out.
Yeah, use it.
When you got the script, is it just your lines and Naveen's lines? You don't get the whole script for the whole episode, or you?
No,
you said you knew, but you said you knew there was a French chick, right? Or
that's because she was auditioning with us.
Okay.
So I knew that there was a French chick, and I am honestly trying to remember. I think at that point we did get the whole script. At that point we did.
Okay.
Yeah, but I still didn't understand the show entirely at that point, so I did have to watch it. Yeah, I had to watch it until I was like, oh, I get it. Flashback. Boom. Now we're clear.
They didn't tell you it was a flashback.
No.
Oh.
No, I just knew it was a separate scene. So I'm like, maybe they're happening simultaneously. Maybe this is like, you know, a Republican guard on the island. I had no idea what was going on until like I actually started watching it, and I'm like, oh, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, of course.
No, Naveen didn't tell you anything was going on. He said, well, this is my flashback.
I remember I started watching the show a week before I actually flew out there. So when I read the script, I still didn't understand until I started watching the show.
Okay.
Yeah. By the time I got out there, I got it.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yes. It does make sense.
There's a lot of time travel here. There's a lot of, like, you know, multiple multiverses.
How soon after that episode aired did you find out you're going to be back for another episode?
Good question. That episode aired November 17th, 2004. And I found out probably sometime in January of 2005 that I was coming back. I had no idea for what. No clue. Turned out I was buying a house from John Locke.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I would not have known that, but I mean, that I did, I think, only get my scene. I don't remember when. I think maybe season 2 they started like just paring it down because they knew that people were hot on this, you know, and like looking for information. So maybe that one. But even then it was just like, oh, I guess I'm with John Locke now. And what's really confusing is when you get the script, you don't know what year it is, because it could be like, you know, jumping all over the place. You know,
that's true. Yeah, the flashbacks and everything.
Yeah, and sometimes the flashbacks happen before the other flashbacks, so you don't know what order they're in. And luckily, the fan base of Lost is so freaking smart that they can figure it out. Sometimes the actors can't, though.
Well, there are fans out there who make timelines. Okay, John worked at the box company. John worked at as a home inspector. Okay, maybe maybe Nadia is works for Charles Widmore or the Dharma Initiative because
There was that theory.
There's a lot of interesting theories about you to this day that linger out there. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I'm sure, as we will discuss later, there are many about the psychic in Raised by Another.
Yes,
I rewatched it.
Yes, you did.
Now, you at the time when the theories were coming out there, you didn't know it was going to happen. Did you think that would be cool if that did happen?
Oh yeah, I was like, if I turn out to be a bad guy, that's badass. Like, I would love that, but they ran out of time.
But then in a future season, you were on a flashback of Charlie's where you were getting mugged, and I want to know why Nadia was in London.
Well, I think that if the series had gone on for another 10 seasons, there would have been a completely different story about that. But because it only went for 6 seasons, my theory was that was a stopover on the way to being transported to the U.S. I'm sure I've said this 100 times, and I'm so sorry for everyone who's heard this so many times every time I say it. But I really think like the storyline I came up with at the time when we did that, which was was that 4? That was 3. That was season 3. Yeah. So my theory was that we knew already that Nadia had gone to the U.S. with the help of the CIA.
Got it.
So my theory was they stopped her over in England. And the reason that I was told, because I'm not an idiot. Well, Nadia's not an idiot. And, if there was just money in the purse, like, go, because I'm going to America. Like, I am being watched by the CIA. Like, I'm not going to like hold on to a stupid purse.
Right.
So my papers were in there
to
get to America, which is why I would not release them, which is why I was like fighting tooth and nail with this guy, not just because I had some gum and lip gloss. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not an idiot. I got out of the Republican Guard. You know what I mean?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. So my theory was like, the stopover to the U.S. was the UK with the papers. And so that's what happened in season 3.
Okay. I totally buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad it had to happen in the rain, though.
Yeah.
It's really hard to look hot in the rain. The girls on the island do it all the time. All the time. I didn't get the memo.
You're hilarious.
What I did like about this episode, and I didn't realize it till I was writing notes, there's a lot of new characters and plot twists introduced in this one. We get Nadia, we find out who Nadia is, the others, the Whispers. We find the cable that eventually leads to an underwater hatch. Ethan, Alex,
Danielle,
and Danielle Russo.
Yep, it's the first time we meet the others.
Right. It was just all this different stuff was like, and then when Saeed hears the Whispers, we're like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
this was a crazy good episode.
It was. Yeah. It was episode 9, right, of the first season. And considering where it went afterward, and I don't buy into the bullshit that they didn't have a plan the whole time, because I know they had some plan, and they return back in future seasons to so many of these points, like in season 3 with the Looking Glass Station, with the cord, the fact that they explain the Whispers ish in season 5, and I also love, and we'll get into this with Raised by Another, is Ethan Rom is an anagram for other man.
Yeah.
And the next episode is called Raised by Another. This is not a coincidence.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Well, damn.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Another man. Yeah, I remember that, but I didn't Raised by Another.
And also this episode introduced us to Hurley's golf course, your episode.
Right.
So on the island, we got one of the only happy moments of the entire series. So there you go.
Far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With friggin' polar bears. And then I like how Michael goes, polar bears.
Yeah.
Charlie goes, you haven't heard about the polar bears?
They didn't talk much on the island, as you know.
Nobody communicated as much as they should.
No.
Yeah. There were a lot of internal blocks and walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always an issue.
Can you say, I know you're not supposed to have a favorite, but do you have a favorite of any of the episodes you were in of all the 6 seasons?
Solitary.
Really? Because it's your first, and
because it was just magical, and it was also it was the first season, and the first season, it can't be recreated, because what was crazy is it was almost time traveling for me because I knew the buzz that this show was getting on the mainland. I knew and like how popular it was and how everybody was talking about it. But you go out there and at this point, you know, they had only aired Walkabout at this point. And I go out there and it's just like, everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's getting like really good feedback. And I'm just like,
They don't, back then, especially before social media, they didn't check in. They just lived in their own little bubble, which probably helped. It helped them.
Yeah. And honestly, it kind of felt like the Muppet Show. Like everybody was so just like, oh, so now we're doing this and now we're doing this. And it's like, they're on an island and they're just acting and like, you know, getting along. And it was so low key and so cool. And it was just like this amazing vibe that, you know, and every guest star who came on, it's like, oh, hey, you could be the next season, right? I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it was just so, it was like Woodstock. And, you know, had I been there on Hawaii, but at the time it was magical. And then, you know, it's always been a beautiful thing to be involved with. And I've had a wonderful time every season, but that season when they didn't know yet what was up. And then next season, you know, there were new trailers, there was new staff, there was new crew, there was new, like, it shifted a little bit where it was like, now they have something to live up to. Which I don't even know if it was palpable on that level, but even then, like, you know, people on the cast are like, oh, hey, what's going on here? I mean, it was just a different vibe and it was never negative. It was just not the same as the first season.
Well, there's probably more pressure going to season 2 because podcasting was just starting, blogging, all the different stuff was going. I mean, people were picked, because I know we podcast about it and Joe, you blogged about it. You pick scene by scene by scene apart. I mean, there was a website you could get each, I can't remember the website, but you could go on there and each scene was photos of each scene was on there.
Yeah. And
so
once,
the pressure had to be just enormous because us
and
nuts were watching it.
Once you're a success, like even the people who are in production, they need to, I mean, there's even if they never want to admit it, which I'm sure they would, anyone who's involved with Lost, who is like a total geek at heart and just, you know, the guy in high school or the girl in high school who just, you know, never felt like they fit in. Everybody is going to feel a need to live up to what they've already accomplished. So, I mean, that's going to permeate anything, you know, the actors, the crew, everybody. So it was just different. It wasn't, again, it was not negative. It wasn't insidious or malicious. It was just different.
I have one question for both of you because it's always bugged me. Yes. How did Danielle not hear the plane crash?
Maybe the music box was right next to her head. I mean,
it wasn't working.
She was meditating. She was meditating. Ooh. She had a pair of earphones and she was doing, like, you know.
I also think that Danielle didn't care because all she cared about was Alex. I honestly don't think that she cared about a new group of people on the island, because unlike the Dharma Initiative and Ben, and they weren't obsessed with my island. I don't know. I just sort of feel like she was literally an island of her own and she had one goal.
But also, if all this stuff has been going on the island for 30 years, maybe there are noises all the time.
Well, it could have been the smoke monster. She could have thought
it could have been the smoke monster. Maybe she's just thinking, I'm crazy and, you know, I hear noises all the time.
It's a good question, though.
It's a great question.
Because it was always my theory that in the beginning that the plane crash was staged. I had this whole theory on this whole plane crash was staged, and it got torn apart because, well, it wasn't staged because they never should have survived. They should have died. I mean, I'm glad they didn't because it made a great show.
I'm like, that's the whole show.
I know. But even
maybe they all use their flotation devices.
But I pointed this out in another because when Jack's going out to save Joanna, Boone almost drowns. Why didn't they get a flotation device from underneath the seat?
They just were more reactionary. You know what I mean?
You're talking about Boone.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Don't get started with the swimming. I mean.
Because Charlie said, I don't swim.
And then he swam.
He swam, yeah.
Yeah. There's little things now upon a rewatch that I noticed, like, in the when we find Bernard is in a tree after the tail end crashes, right? But on the airplane, he was in the bathroom because Rose was waiting for him. So how was he strapped into a seat? I'm just saying, I'm sure that he got out of the bathroom right when it was crashing and got into a chair. But this is the kind of minutia that we actually don't care about on Lost because everything else is amazing. It's only when you watch it again for the 100th time that you go, wait a second, Bernard should have been in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, how did Charlie end up with everybody when he was at the front of the plane?
Right. Exactly.
These are all wonderful questions.
So
you're a different kind of nerd, by the way. Like you're one of us.
I'm one of you.
108%.
But I don't know about this stuff.
No, that's okay.
Nobody does that.
I can tell you everything about every scene I've ever been in, and that's how I'm a nerd because I remember everything.
No, that's important. It was a blissful experience for you.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it, yeah. Except when he got yanked out of the crosswalk when you were getting hit by the car by Jacob. It's fine.
That was terrifying.
I remember we talked about that.
And the rain was not my favorite either. That was not my favorite.
How long did it take to shoot?
Oh, which one?
With all the rain.
The rain, it was a day, but it was loud. I mean, it was like it was the downpour. You know how in Lost they have like the different variations of rain. Like there's the drizzle, there's the mist, and then there's like that,
right.
the cataclysmic rainfall. So that's what I was working in. And I was like, oh, this is new. I've never even worked in a drizzle. And now it's like suddenly like, wow. Okay, which is also very funny because they put me in like full makeup at the beginning of the day, and I'm just like, why?
To make it look normal.
By the end of the day, like it was just washed up. But the funny thing is, you couldn't hear anything, so I had to go in and loop the entire scene, as did Dominic at different times. So it was just kind of like a joke at that point to the guys who were doing the looping session. So. They're just like, yeah, you kind of have to do the whole scene. Just make it happen. Yes.
Question: was it actually Hawaii rain, or did they make it London heavy rain on purpose?
I felt it was extremely tropical, but it could be London heavy rain. I have not been to London.
No, recently. I just mean, did they make? Was it fake rain, or was it actually raining that day?
Oh no, it was totally fake.
I thought so. Okay.
Was it warm? No. At least was the water warm?
Yes, the water was. Actually, it was so hot in Hawaii that the water was refreshing.
Oh, okay.
And then but it was just like the whole like hot, cold was not pleasant. But, so when I'm doing the looping session, they're just like, yeah, you're just going to have to basically do it all over again. So I'm not pleased with that looping session at all, because first of all, like you're having to do like, so yeah, that's why I sound like a geek in that scene, because I'm like trying to be like, and then what's really funny, this is a funny bit of trivia, when they were like, oh, you should hear what Dominic did because he came in before me, and at one point I'm like, so many people came by and heard me and none of them stopped, and it's a close-up of his face going like something like that. So what he actually said was wankers.
Perfect.
But they didn't add that. They didn't keep that in. But I was like, it was just so funny when he's like, wankers.
Awesome.
That would have been a great line. Should have kept that in there.
Right? So every time you guys watch that scene now, you have to imagine him going,
wankers.
I totally will.
Do you guys want to move on to Raised by Another?
Sure, because I think Andrea has a specialty that she can talk about with this one. Tell us why.
I think I might blow a few losty minds here, but I am a certified psychic medium.
Why are you laughing?
Because it sounds very funny to say. It's almost like I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. But I am actually a certified psychic medium. So I have been doing this kind of work for the last 20 years alongside the acting. Mm-hmm. And I actually do give sessions out of my home. It's, if anybody is interested, I'm sure you can contact Jack and I can give you the website, whatever. But I do this. So it's really funny that, in this episode, there is a psychic and I can tell you what's accurate and what's not.
Well, so Richard Malkin, who's we're talking about, is the psychic that Claire goes to. later on, obviously, in a future episode, we find out Mr. Echo finds out, he's debunked, he's defrauded.
He was absolutely working for Widmore.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's interesting because we never saw Jacob in the flash forwards and the flashbacks when we see Jacob going and picking candidates. We never see him go to Claire. Now, she wasn't in the end one of the candidates. However, I always have this thing that Jacob must have visited. How else would Malkin have gotten her on flight 815? I feel like Jacob visited him. But besides that, I want to know what you thought of him.
I don't agree with you often, but I agree with you there.
Holy shit.
Holy stuff. I love it. Right here we have the man in black and the man in white. I love
That's
it.
Right.
It's amazing.
Excuse me, I'm the lady in white.
You're the lady in white.
I'm no lady. Let's get that right out of the door. But I was going to say, before the Echo episode, when you saw this episode with, Malkin, what did you think about him?
The first time I ever saw it, I just said, that's weird. And then after all of the psychic sort of certification and work that I've done, I mean, I'm sure, I'm just going to put money on the fact that people in production of Lost have gone to psychics. I'm just going to say, I'm going to go out on a limb there. I believe they have, because there are a lot of fraudulent psychics. There are a lot of BS psychics. That's 100% the truth. But there are also some really good ones, and they never work like that, ever. They never say oh, it's blurry, you have to go. I'm never.
They never call you the customer at home.
Never. They never stop the customer and say, you have to do this. You have to do this. So obviously he Claire found some Madame Cleo. And now all of a sudden it's oh yeah, it's Widmore, and he's oh, I got a pregnant baby mama for you, and he's gonna harp on the mind of someone who's obviously vulnerable and try to send her out to the island because she's gonna make good breeding. That's what was it.
And they had no successful, births, and that's why because I just watched this episode with Juliet where she says, we have an infertility problem, which is why I'm here. And Claire having a baby was the first successful mother and child both living since the 70s. So that's why she was recruited for the island. It's all very fascinating.
I feel like we're getting dark here. I'm not the topic. I'm okay.
Yeah, you're good. Okay,
we can still see you.
Well, and Andrea too, I think you're right that one of the writers or somebody went to one, because if you think about it, later on, Hurley is forced to go to one by his dad, and Rose and Bernard go all the way to Australia to find one for Rose. There are different instances of seers and psychics throughout all 6 seasons of Lost. So I think that someone has had experience, for better or worse, they've had experience.
And I would vouch all of them, because first of all, we're in Los Angeles, and it just happens. People have psychics. And what's also funny is because I do also work in this medium, no pun intended. There are some really, really crappy ones, and there are some ones who are really unethical. And if you are learning how to do this ethically and in the right way, there are rules. You can never call someone, and I mean that is so red zone. Never, ever, ever. Nor would you want to, because once someone is out of your house, out of your room, out of your mind, it's no longer you can't go into that energy because you're not invited. It's only when they're with you and they're obviously inviting the information that you can do that. Otherwise, it's considered unethical. It's considered black, bad energy. Yeah.
Has there been any show since where you've seen an accurate portrayal of a psychic, or a movie, or a show?
I'd say The Gift with Kate Blanchett is pretty accurate. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Where it's she sees what she sees, but she doesn't see everything, because we don't see everything. And also, there's also the fact that there is free will. And free will, you cannot tell people what is absolutely 100% going to happen, because we're on this planet to create our lives, and you can change what we see as weather forecasts. So if I see there's an 80% chance of precipitation, there's a storm cloud coming, but it might get blown that way, and what's going to blow it that way is your free will. So we can't say for sure what's going to happen. So anyone who says this is going to happen, that's going to happen, get your money back. Don't go, because
it's so interesting, because fate versus free will is most of the Lost underlying and overarching theme.
Yeah.
So it actually, in that context, I've never thought about the fact that all of the shrinks and the psychics and the seers that they use, I understand now why they implemented those as tools in flashbacks.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, the whole idea of a psychic or a seer is to be able to kind of to guide you in a way that's going to almost be coaching for you, that's going to be helpful for you. If someone lays out what's going to happen for you, what power does that give you? Where's your power anymore? And we're on this planet, we're in this lifetime, we were incarnated to have power in this lifetime. It's your story. So no psychic can take that away from you. And if they do, shame on them and get out of the room.
Do you think the psychic was getting the information from Thomas?
Yes. I think the psychic was, or from one of his underlings, but I think it was like, it's a multi-level corporation. So I feel like, there are a lot of things at work, obviously, I mean, just.
Because Thomas leaving never made sense. I mean, he just comes, this isn't working, I'm out.
Right, he had to. Yeah.
I think he got paid to leave, so. It was just a weird scene where he walks in and she's hanging up her drape. Now we're doing drapes. I'm out. I don't like the drapes.
I think, yeah, that is kind of weird.
If you think about the context of, he was paid to leave, and the whole, if you think about a Widmore conspiracy, if you think about Jacob, you think about recruiting Claire to go to the island, the baby daddy was of no consequence to anyone on the island.
Right.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. But he was also kind of like a little panty waist, wasn't he?
He was kind of a douche, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, 1 second. I mean, she wasn't expecting him to be okay with it. And then he's okay with it. And then the next second he's like, never mind. And she's not like shocked. She's just disappointed. So right. I kind of feel like that was part of his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might have just been a douche.
Right.
But, and then maybe because her friend was, because she had already gone there, they're like, ooh, he's gone. Let's take advantage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'd be curious to know, in your actual current real life field, what you think of Desmond, because I know that it's a show and he was uniquely and miraculously special, and he was able to see the future. In that sense.
Joe, we all are.
I know.
Kidding. Just
kidding. But I'm just curious what you thought about Desmond's trajectory once you knew his abilities, and do you believe in things like that electromagnetic properties can affect your brain waves and that kind of thing?
Wow. Okay. That's like really too sci-fi for me.
Sorry.
I think we just like reached
you were too far geek.
You know what? I'm rewatching right now, so I'm like, ooh, I should ask Andrea this question.
I would love to know what makes this stuff work. I would love to know. I have no idea. Maybe it is electromagnetic fields. I do know that everything is energy. Mm-hmm. And I know that what psychics or mediums read is energy, which are, in the case of mediums like Hurley, also souls, because energy cannot be destroyed. So when he does talk, when I say because I go to a circle every freaking week where we do this stuff. You know what I mean? So I've seen, I consider myself more of a psychic than a medium. Mediumship is, it's very, it's difficult, because you have to know first of all, if you're picking up on the person psychically, if you're feeling what they remember about the loved one, or if you're just sort of coming out of nowhere with something. I mean, it's really hard to know. With psychic work, it's very immediate. It's very obvious. But with mediumship, because it's like you're feeling into this different realm, it's very hard to know if that's accurate. So I do not advertise as a medium. I do not do sessions as a medium, but I know people who do. Mm-hmm. So if you ask me how that works, I couldn't begin to tell you.
No, I'm just curious if you had a take, because I just think it's so interesting, because he winds up is seeing the future, and he, with the whole Faraday of it all and adding the science of it all, which is that you can't change the future or the past, even if you know it's going to happen. That's one of my favorite things about Lost.
I think, okay, so I'm a believer in multiverse.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do think that there are several different, more than several, but so many different realities going on at the same time. So they all are accurate, and maybe you can't change any of them, but you can choose any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right. That's why essentially that's Lost was sort of a choose your own adventure as well. And it was non-linear, which I actually really like. And I like that.
We're getting so deep, Jack.
Sorry, Jack. Sorry, we're taking over. We're taking over.
I'm learning something, so I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I was excited to be on with you doing this episode, because you have such a unique perspective about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe that when a psychic tunes in, they're really calling on the multiverse dimension that has the most energy behind it. And whatever dimension has the most energy behind it is the one that is usually the one that everyone agrees upon. And because it's, it takes the least energy to uphold.
Okay.
So you can do a quantum leap. You can go from homeless to a billionaire. It just takes like a lot of energy for everyone to get on that page as well. I mean, it's like, because it's sort of like whichever one takes the least amount of energy to create is the one that is created, unless you are very intent and very focused and you want to and that doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means it's going to take several increments of different multiverses. So what I'm reading when I'm reading someone's, psychic information is the reality that has the most energy that's manifesting now, that's going to manifest. But that can change again.
Right.
So isn't that interesting?
It is. It's actually riveting.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's my theory about it anyway. But the brainwaves and the, whatever Desmond was talking about. By the way, I love Henry Ian. But whatever his character was talking about, I don't know.
Fair. Yeah. One of the things that's not at all related to your field of work about this episode that I loved, and one of the mysteries, maybe you can talk about it, Jack, is that we actually learn Hurley is a nickname. We know his name is Hugo, but we learn in this episode, but we never learn why.
I think it's got to be because he threw up somewhere.
Hurl.
That was always the biggest theory, that he threw up. He just threw up on somebody or something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or he had like a very sensitive gag reflex.
all these years that I've watched and all of these years that I have known Jorge Garcia, I have never once associated Hurley with hurling. Thank you. Now I can't. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I
think that theory.
Maybe I just put it out of my head because I'm not a huge fan of regurgitation per se.
Oh, okay. It's my favorite thing to watch.
As opposed to the rest of us.
I watch a lot of TV and film like you guys, and anytime it's on screen, I'm like, okay,
I get it.
Yeah, it bothers me more than other kind of violence on horror movies. It just bothers me.
I understand.
Probably because it's something we do.
It's my wife's biggest pet peeve. If I happen to be throwing up, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I'm in there. I'm pulling her hair back. I'm rubbing her. She's yelling from the way across the house. Are you okay?
Oh no!
To be fair, you don't have any hair to hold back. So
exactly, that's true. That's true. I used to when we first
a tiny little hairband.
Yes.
But yeah, it does. She gets like you're saying on TV. It's like, why do they always have to? And it sounds more graphic.
It is.
They really go all into it. It's like so realistic, and she just goes.
As long as I don't see it or smell it, I can be very, very nurturing. Like if I am like at the back of the head and I just like hear the sounds, I'm just like, la, 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 there you go, you're good. And so it's like I can be very good from the non-visual and the like. But if I'm anywhere in the front, no.
We've really taken your video cast here down the rabbit hole. I mean,
we can get worse, Joe. We can get worse.
Oh, we can go way worse.
We won't.
But we can come back to where Ethan becomes a better, a stronger character. And Hurley's doing. I thought it was actually funny when Hurley doing the census.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the scene when he's doing with Locke. He just wants to get away from me. He talks to some, rando person. Yeah, I know I get your information, but act like if we haven't, I need to get away from him.
I thought William Matfather was wonderful.
He's creepy awesome.
Because he's just so like, hey.
He's got this musculature, like the way he holds himself is very intimidating.
Yeah.
So he played that role so well, and I love, because I'm in season 3 of my rewatch. I love going back and finding out that he was a doctor and a plumber in Dharmaville. Like, this is a dude who they actually, And I actually think it's kind of dumb that Ben sent some of his best, most useful humans to get killed by our new people here. Like, I mean, he sent Goodwin because Goodwin was with Juliet and he wanted Juliet for himself. Right. Never got that. Thank you. He sent his surgeon plumber, and then Ethan Robb got killed. So, like, anyway, I digress. But I love, and we have to bring up Tom Cruise because there are certain faces that William Apather makes that look so much like Tom Cruise. They're cousins, for those who don't know. But there's something way he holds himself that he was perfectly menacing. And you've met him in real life. He's the nicest guy.
He's the nicest guy. You know, wouldn't it be so sad if like Ethan just went there to find a good woman?
He did fall for Claire, I think.
I think he did, but it's like, wouldn't that be so sad if it was just like cool new girls, and then it's just like, oh man, now I'm the weirdo.
But this is pre-Tinder, but maybe he could have had better lines than hey, how are you? Like he just a little bit creepy.
Is she okay?
Yeah. What I thought was funny though is he's when we see him he's with Locke, he's got a personality, he's doing all this different stuff, but when it's just Charlie and Claire, and he goes, where's Jack? And he goes, he's like changed his whole demeanor. It's like he's been possessed. He
wasn't
weird.
Well socialized. No,
and I think in Dharmaville, like they all thought they were the good guys, didn't have a lot of enemies or people that they ran up against. And I think he was new at this, and he was literally trying on a different persona. Didn't work.
He's just like, I have a wicked recipe for green goddess salad dressing.
I bet Juliet did. I bet she did.
I bet she did, man.
Yeah.
Wait, she was a terrible cook.
You know what? You don't know. You don't know.
I do know because she burned the muffins, right?
She was under a lot of stress, with the book club and Ben keeping her sister from her and Ben being all obsessive, you're mine, man. Like, come on.
She was probably
who's not going to burn a muffin under that kind of duress?
Weaving a hemp blanket for like the newborns that might happen.
I'm just saying. They sent that dumb shrink to her. Okay.
I apologize.
Sorry, don't mess with Juliet. I'm sorry.
It was beautifully Woodstock. Beautifully Woodstock.
Yes.
Anything else? We hear hear the phrase the song catch. We don't hear the song, but we hear Claire brings it up, which comes later on in the series. So
can we just give like props to the woman who played like the would-be adoptive mother who's just like, here's a pin.
Yeah. That was it.
I got a pin.
She's like, I'm so sweet until your pin runs out of ink.
That's about how the Australian accents were on Lost. Like Claire had her natural accent, and every other actor, you're all okay.
You're like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Your accent, though, A+.
Thanks.
Like I wouldn't know from anyone else, but it was an A+.
Well, merci beaucoup. And I told you what happened when I actually got there, right?
No.
This is funny. No, that I had been listening to Naveen before I got out there to be like, okay, so what's he doing? This is what I'm going to do too. And then I get out there and he's just like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, okay, then we'll do this. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So it was sort of like, if we landed on something that was authentic, I am so grateful. And, I'm just like, it's Naveen Andrews. Of course, he's going to know what the hell he's doing.
Did you ever get any feedback from Iraqi women or women who have had accents like that?
Some not so good.
It's acting.
It's actressing. And, but some very good. So, I'm gonna step out of the fray and I'm just gonna let people make of it what they will. I did my very, very best.
I believe it.
I'm from freaking Manhattan. I've heard around.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard every accent there is out there, like daily on the reg.
Yeah.
So
like I said, I thought it was great.
I also thought it was great. I'm not saying that because you're on here. I thought it was great. I did want to point out too that this is the first time we hear Claire say "my baby," and I can't do my son's impression of Claire saying "my baby."
My baby.
My baby.
But that was the first time we hear Claire say "my baby."
And Ethan took my baby.
Exactly.
That was pretty good.
My baby.
I
can't.
Not a
I can't
dingo.
do it. I can't do it.
Not a dingo.
And Ethan took my baby.
And Ethan took my baby. By the way, can I just give like a huge, huge, huge props to Emily? Oh my God, I freaking love that woman. I met her for real the last Michael concert. last year.
Oh yeah, at Giacchino's concert.
Yeah, she and I were finally able to like have like, she was pregnant. We were able to have like a real baby. We were able to have like, you know, a sit down, and I just freaking love that woman. I love her so much. She's the sweetest person.
She's delightful.
Yeah, I'm now my cake crush has like a little competition.
Ooh, what about Charlotte? I mean, Rebecca made her too. There's so many.
I love her too, but I gotta say, like Kate and Emily now, like I could happily live in a commune.
Sorry, I'm Team Juliet now and forever.
I gotta meet her, you know. I don't know. You know, it's all the chemistry. Who knows?
I know.
But I think she's a wonderful actress and a lovely, beautiful woman. But you know, we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Where you at? Where you at?
I don't want to derail your podcast, Jack. I mean, we already have, but I'd be remiss.
Okay.
Okay, good. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but the end, the finale, that is the only thing. I love that finale. I think it was literally almost perfect, except for one thing. And the one thing to me, and I'm sorry, Shannon, people, Jay, you're the biggest fan I know. Sorry, not really. I think it should have been Nadia in the church, because Nadia was there for 6 seasons. And I know that Shannon accepted Saeed for who he was on the beach in their 10-day romance. I get it, but I don't buy it. And what it's not just because I'm friends with you, Andrea, but I was shocked. And I remember watching the episode with you at Jay and Jack's Valley party going, what the actual F here?
What?
Because did you know that Shannon was going to be in the church with him? No, nobody knew.
I knew I was not in the finale, but
right.
I didn't know that she was in the finale, which is, you know, I mean, which is fine.
Yeah, like we get it, but like it would have made more organic sense to people like me and you and a lot of people if Nadia was there, because that's who his person was.
Yeah, a lot of people really, really love her, and I mean, and by the way, Maggie,
great.
I might not have the same chemistry as I do with Kate and Emily. Got to be honest. I mean, I just don't think she likes girls in that way, but. But you know, I love her. I think she's beautiful. I've worked with her. I think that she's like incredibly talented and all of the above. It's just a sexual thing. But I like the thing about her. I feel like they wanted to just have her in the finale.
Agreed.
And I feel like they didn't know how else to bring her into the finale except in this romantic sort of tie-in, sort of like bow kind of way. And I think that's what happened, because if you look at the whole thing, I mean, Nadia accepted Saeed for who he was. He tortured her.
Thank you.
Right, she was right there. She saw the whole spectrum.
Right.
And you know, Shannon did not.
Some people come to me and say, "Oh well, you know, Nadia wasn't on the island." And I said, "Well, neither was Penny." So you can't give me that argument. And also, they could have paired Shannon with Boone. They could have had them together, because they knew each other longer and they had their differences, but they were family, even if they weren't blood.
She was pregnant with Boone's baby.
Okay.
They weren't related, Joe. They were not related.
That was one of my theories. So
it honestly, like, I mean, it all works out the way that it works out.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's one multiverse we can't go back on. Unfortunately.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree that it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but you know, it made sense to them, and a lot of people were very happy about it.
To me, it's what I've seen from polite discourse has been 50-50, 50-50, you know, and I get it. And I get it. And Maggie Grace has gone on to do great things, and like, good for her. I just was never team Shannon. Maybe I also didn't establish, in fewer episodes with you, there was an emotional resonance that was established, at least in my opinion. I didn't get that with Shannon Rutherford, and it's not Maggie's fault, and I'm not blaming the writers, but there was just something missing that didn't allow me to make me be excited that she was, you know, in the final place with Saeed.
Yeah, and well, I mean, her character was actually amazing for what it was before they tried to make her this good person. I don't see why they had to change that. You know what I mean? Like, what if she had the 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, whatever stand with Saeed on the island and still been kind of a bitch, you know? Right. It's okay. It happens. But I don't, like, all of a sudden, I mean, I understand they wanted to redeem her, but it's like all of a sudden now they're making her like this white nun, which was a strange leap. And not only that, it was very strange to pair her with Saeed in this new, it just felt inorganic to me. It felt weird.
Right.
You know, I would have rather seen her flawed from the get and all the way through.
Right.
And then, you know, she can still be in the church.
Right. No, I agree. And I think, you know, the reason that they wrote in the romance was because they knew they were killing her off and they wanted to give her a softer side of Shannon. That's just how I interpreted it. Upon a rewatch recently, I went, okay, I kind of get where they were going. I will never understand the church, but that's not my choice.
Yeah. And I think that also they might have wanted to give Saeed something to do. Someone to do.
Well, I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
You know, to add a little bit of conflict to the like, oh, I'm looking for the love of my life. And now let's like, you know, and then they kind of lost the thread and had him having sex with everybody.
But listen, like, Saeed, you know, arguably was a leader and a hero from day one on the island. And as we've discussed, Naveen is a sexy MFer. So, you know, he's out there in his tank tops. He's a useful guy. He's an attractive guy. I'm not at all surprised they gave him a love interest.
Oh, have you seen Kama Sutra?
Doesn't he sing and dance in that one?
No. That's Bride and Prejudice.
That's the one I saw.
In Kama Sutra, there's just a lot of hanky-panky.
Oh, I'm going to go rent it.
There's a whole lot of...
Is there a whole lot of Naveen?
Anybody who wants to see Naveen, like, there is a lot of Naveen. Well, actually, I mean, screen time, just not a lot of like. It's the girls who are mostly naked, but they're not really naked because of the body hair.
Okay, intriguing. Yeah, Jack's like, okay.
Did I lose it?
You sold me. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk about much except we did.
On that note, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys taking a Saturday night out of your time, out of your day, and spending it with us Lost fans.
Hey, thanks for having us. And I want to clarify at the beginning of this podcast. Mr. Jack called me sand kicker, and lest you think it's a racist comment, let me just clarify. Especially because I'm on with Andrea Gabriel, that this refers to the Lost 2010 season 6 premiere on the beach that Jay and Jack and myself had the great pleasure of being on the red carpet for. Here we were, a little blogger and little podcasters, and we got to be on the red carpet with Entertainment Tonight and all of these people and E! Online. And we got to be at the very end and talk to all the actors. Long story short, I'm 5 feet tall. And so there was a platform on the red carpet and I was sinking in. So I had to keep stepping up on the platform. Thus I got sand on the red carpet. And
oh my God.
The whole time the actors were there, he would lean over and go, sand kicker. And I'm like,
I love it.
I'm just saying that is why for 10 years, this guy's called me sand kicker, but that's okay. I call him Mount Baldy. So we just get back and forth.
I actually think it's amazing because I would associate that with you, like not being afraid to make waves and be like, and not being afraid to be like, you know what? I disagree. This is what I think.
My name is Jopinionated for a reason, Jack.
There you go.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I forget what actor I reached over and said, you know, she kicked sand all over. So I apologize for you getting sand in your shoe.
That's probably why Matthew Fox and Terry O'Quinn never got to my microphone. I'm just saying.
Oh, we got to talk to Terry O'Quinn.
Oh, okay.
Of course you did.
I actually didn't. Of all the people I've met from Lost, I've not met Naveen, I've not met Matthew, and I've not met Terry. I have met every single other person.
Wow.
I know. Well, to be fair, Naveen doesn't do fan events, so that's why I haven't met him.
Well, you never watched the show.
Yeah, he allegedly.
Well, he told me that too.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Matthew Fox, I don't like to watch it.
And Matthew Fox didn't watch it.
And you know who else didn't, as I learned as I was interviewing her at your finale party? L. Scott Caldwell, because fans were standing up and asking her Rose questions, and she would lean over and whisper, what happened?
Like, oh my God, that's amazing.
She said, I showed up, I did my job, I went on to the next guest spot. And I'm like, oh, let me fill you in. Rose and Bernard are on the island in the very end. They have Vincent, and your husband has dreadlocks.
They work for Dharma.
And apparently you work for Dharma.
And Sam has dreadlocks.
And Sam Anderson has dreadlocks. You're welcome. Because, you know, there was no hairstylist back then, so.
He's growing his own cannabis.
You know what? If anyone did, it would be Bernard.
It would be Bernard.
He was a dentist. He had some skills, so he put them to work.
Yes, he did. Maybe he was, yeah.
I
He could spell SOS.
He could spell S-O, really. That really, remember, it was more like S-O. Yeah.
That's true.
It was like,
It was a really nice try, but no. But I digress. But thank you for having me on. Thanks for always letting me take over when you have me on, whether it's a podcast or a video cast. And also, what a pleasure to see you, Andrea.
You too. Get your butt back to LA, woman.
Okay, I come up to the Bay Area.
Oh! Sand kicker.
Okay. Oh, great. Now it's going to say, thank you, Jack.
I think you need to get a tattoo saying.
Speaking of tattoo, look, I just got Cancer Gets Lost. I don't know if you can see my inner arm.
Nice. Yeah.
It's hard to see, but yeah, I just got that right there. So there, I'm not getting sand kicker.
On the other side, I think would be perfect.
I'm pretty sure I'd get something like choose kindness before sand kicker. I'm just saying.
What about choose kindness, sand kicker?
Again, it's an inside joke for this guy only, so I'm not sure it's worth a forever tattoo. I'm not Jack on a beach in Thailand, okay? I'm not going to just get whatever done.
Yeah, it's my fault because I don't let things go.
Right.
I'm just gonna get, if not in this life, then in the next, in Arabic.
You should.
As a tramp stamp.
Oh my God, please do. I bet someone has that tattooed.
Oh, I doubt it.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to totally ask because people always post their last tattoos. I'm going to search and send it to you.
I would love to know. I would love that. I mean, they have Shannon screaming on their calf, but they don't have not in this life.
That's my friend Josh. He's awesome, but yes.
I do love him. I mean, God bless your heart for going there. God.
To be fair, he balanced it up by having a really cool bad robot tattoo on the arm. So like I figure it negates the other one.
Amazing. But you know,
anyway.
Nadia actually wrote.
Exactly. Nadia wrote it.
Didn't just scream. She actually inscribed. Just saying.
There could be a Nadia tattoo out there. We'll find out.
I would be very curious.
I'm sure there is. There has to be.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I think we get into it now.
I love you both.
I love you. Thanks for being on and thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Likewise, and thank you, Jack, for hosting.
Oh, no problem. I was mainly just listening, but that's okay.
Yeah, totally. We recorded our conversation. I'll see you in another life, sister.
If not in this one.
Boom.
Boom.